Okay, so from the beginning of the story, I was really blown away whenever we found out that Zan and the town that was giving up the babies had totally different thoughts of it. The city thought that they had to, or else the witch, Zan, was going to come and attack them, but Zan thought that they were just throwing these babies out for something to eat them. How did this make you guys feel?
Yeah, I was very surprised, shocked. Normally, I do not read this fantasy fiction. That is not a genre that I read. But this book just kind of engulfed me. And you're right, feelings and emotions from the get-go, especially as a mom. And the entire controlling of the elders from that, and the entire lies that they kept telling their whole town. And how believable, and for, generations after generations, that's how they did it. And
understand how they believe that, how they fell for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And then on the day of the sacrifice itself, I mean, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, knowing that you would have to, give up this baby to, keep the community safe. And it was, because of you. And I can't imagine. I would definitely have figured out Planned Parenthood. I would figure out, okay, my baby will be born in a different season, no doubt.
Exactly.
Or if you even would choose to have a child, knowing that, or thinking that, it's something's going to eat it, or what worse. So
it definitely reminded me of a different, it reminded me of a couple of different books, or it reminded me of, that movie, The Village, where it's a weird movie, but it's that person who does the Sixth Sense or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? There's always some weird twist going on. And I like that was their weird twist, that everybody thinks they're doing the right thing or what's best for whoever, and it's actually not the right thing. And there's just lies upon lies upon lies. And I really liked this book. I thought it was kind of like a Harry Potter kind of thing, where it was, it was cool enough to get your attention like Harry Potter, but it wasn't Harry Potter, which in my opinion was great.
Today is 20 years anniversary for Harry Potter.
Today.
I saw that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, there's so many different stories within this story that's going on. That it attracted me also to it. And just the deep connection between Zan and what's their name? Hold on for a second. Lurk and the Fryland, or I don't know how to say their name. Just the deep connections that they had for all those years. And I don't know, I just loved that part of it, their communication and their trust and their honesty to each other, and they always had each other's back. And of course at the very end, where they said they loved each other and they walked away and spent eternity together forever. And I just loved that. So,
yeah, it was definitely good.
Yeah.
One of my questions was, what character do you feel like went through the most change in the book? Who did you feel like changed the most, or had the most development in their story?
I think the nephew really had the most change.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
A shy little boy to actually going out and trying to fight the witch.
Yeah.
Yep. I totally agree that Antane is what I call him. I don't know if you guys had another pronunciation of his name, but I mean, what amazing growth to be. I think he knew, even as a boy, even when he worked with the sisters, he knew deep down that there was just something didn't feel right. It didn't seem right. I think he felt that from the get-go, even when he was the chosen, when he was favored and had, the money and had, the glory and whatever else. He really knew that there was something wrong. And then you're, like you said, anything he could do to save his own child. And if it meant killing the witch, it meant killing the witch and everybody else be cursed for the rest of their life. But there again, I think he just knew that right and wrong and something didn't feel right. And
Yeah.
he could sense it. I think that was a gift.
Yeah.
Really a gift.
I love that he kept his goodness still throughout the book, even though, like, I never understood completely what happened with the birds. I mean, I know that I don't think I didn't understand that, like, why he was attacked by the birds. I thought it was an accident. Yeah, the mad woman. I didn't feel like she did that to him on purpose. Like, she probably would do it to one of those mean sisters, but not necessarily to him.
Right.
But on top of that, you would think being horribly disfigured, that would have changed him completely, and he wouldn't have been able to marry Ethine. I think that's their name.
Yeah.
So I loved still that he was so good when he was taking care of that bird, and he cried when he hurt, Zan as a bird. I just thought that was really cool.
And
He was
also,
probably,
I'm sorry. I
Go
was going
ahead.
to say also when he was no longer serving the elders, there again, he knew he had a gift and a talent with the woodworking and made himself successful, but not prideful. Well, and humbled. And I think that says a lot about his character as well and him growing. And he could have been very, very bitter. There again, the sisters have rejected him. The elders have rejected him. I mean, he had every reason to be negative, but he wasn't. That's not who he was. He was good. Yep.
Yeah.
I love how she developed that character. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely put a lot of thought into it. That's for sure.
Right.
Especially since the beginning of the book, you don't really think he's going to make such a big difference. And then throughout the story, he just keeps showing up and showing up.
Yeah. Now, one of my questions was Luna herself and Zan. How in the world do you train someone who's drank the moon and has all this power? I mean, do you put her in the spell, or do you not just try it a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time? I don't know. And then it's like, okay, well, the magic age was 13. How in the world do you ever give that responsibility? How would you ever choose an age?
Teenager.
That was crazy. And thank goodness she said 13, because if she'd said 14, she'd be dead. So anyway,
it is a lot of responsibility to take on. I mean, especially since the witch was told that she was going to pass whenever she turned 13. Well, if she didn't get everything that she needed to Luna, then they would have been in a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love her character too. I love the gold and the silver. And when she was a kid, she would, think something and then it would happen and then not have any idea that she was the one who did it. And when she walked, it was flowers. And I just thought that was just fun and cool. And so maybe I'm going to have to read a little more fantasy since I enjoyed this one so much.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did any of you guys have any other questions?
I don't think I've got my two. I just loved it. I thought it was a great read. It was one of my favorites this summer. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I really loved it. I loved the dragon. I loved how they never told him the truth until at the very end.
Yeah, when he got so big, he had to figure it all out, right?
Yeah, he was so cute. It was like, it made me think of Olaf in Frozen. When he's singing about summer.
Yeah, exactly. But he was the perfect little dragon, wasn't that what they said the line was? The perfect little dragon.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, I did think that was funny.
And do you think there's room in this book for a sequel?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You could branch off of many parts from it.
I think so too. That there's so many things going on. Oh, and the one thing that was surprising at the end, how all the Star Children came back to the village. Who would have ever thought?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That was a good ending too. So sure, there's plenty of things for those characters to all be developed.
Yeah, I think they could have wrote a prequel about Zan's time with the wizard, or how Glurk came to be Glurk. or they could have just branched off completely and had like a little dragon series. I think those would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think we're going to see more from this author, more from this series. I hope so anyway.
I hope so too. It's really good.
Right.
Yeah. I like that it was fantasy and it was like science fiction, but it wasn't so weird that you couldn't figure anything out. That's been my problem with like fantasy and science fiction, is that I get lost in the details and then I don't understand what exactly just happened. So I have to reread it.
Right.
And this wasn't a very frustrating read. It was very like, it was easy, of course, but it was it just seemed to flow and you kind of were interested in knowing what was going to happen. It wasn't like, you know, like Star Trek or something where you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Just have to go with it.
Yeah. I can really see where this would be a fun read aloud book with your class, and like, you know, older, you know, elementary school, middle school. I mean, I could see where they would be like so interested in it, what's going to happen next, and wanting to read it and wanting more every day. I think that would be a great read aloud.
So you guys might have noticed that this book was in the Battle of the Books for last school year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I was going to ask, how do you guys think that age level felt having to read this story and then go to the Battle of the Books? With it being so large, do you think it would have been like hard for them to get into, or do you think that they would have just picked it up and kept reading?
Oh, no, I don't think it would have been hard to get into at all. But I think they would have just picked it up and kept reading, and it was hard for me to put it down.
I agree. Me too. Like, I got a million things to do, but I'm just going to keep reading.
Just one more time.
Though, for them to remember lots of details from that book.
And I think since Luna was more of like an elementary age, I think that right there was spot on for them to just grab it and think, oh my gosh, what if this happened to me?
Yeah. Fun.
Even though it's fiction, but still interesting.
Yeah.
It's a great book. I really liked it.
Well, and I loved it all. There's so many themes that you can take away from it. I was going to ask, gosh, I can't remember my last question, but I'm just going to make up one as I go and just say, do you feel like there were multiple themes addressed in this? Like, there's obviously a good versus evil kind of thing, but, you know, like, I really thought the twist with the head sister was so inventive, like a sorrow eater.
Right.
That was crazy.
It was like,
I know. I had to grab my husband's arm in the car. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And he was like, "Are you still reading that book?"
Yeah, that was kind of. You're right. There's just so many different avenues that you could go down as far as persistence and friendship, and you know, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and in your gut. I mean, you know, and seeking and trying to find those answers, and just not taking what someone says as the gospel truth and finding it for yourself. You know, there's lots of, you know, something to be said for the sisterhood and also the elders that, you know, combined, you know, the power that they had over people, but if it was only used for good, and not to continue to depress people, but to, you know, when people unite, great things can happen, and unfortunately, people misuse their power for sure. So I think there's lots of themes, lots of great great avenues that you could take this book as a teacher for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
What do you think was the most defining moment as for Luna as a character?
Oh, when she drank when she actually, well, I don't know. I will say her defining moment is when she didn't know why when she ran across her grandmother when she was the bird. And she commanded her grandmother to make herself known. I'm not sure if I've got that exactly right.
that sounds right.
Yeah, but that defining moment that she spoke that into her grandmother, and what she thought and spoke came to be. And even, you know, in her grandmother's, when she was dying, and the words that she used there, and, you know, and the vow to, you know, be good, or, you know, but the whole, you know, coming to be with the powers, I think was was a huge moment. Was a huge turning point.
Yeah.
I must say, Luna had me a little worried in the beginning of the book. I thought she was a witch.
Yeah, she
little dragon cry all the time.
Right, exactly. I thought
mean.
that was so funny that she was so mean to the dragon.
Yeah.
But yet Frylin was so loyal to her, and at her feet all the time, and yeah, you're right. That was as a kid, she was a little bit of mischief.
Yes, I loved whenever she's running and they said that every step that she takes, like a flower pops up and then she turns Glurk into wasn't it a rabbit?
Yeah.
And I could just imagine in my head like this little kid running around like completely causing chaos, and here comes this old lady running behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But in today's times, the kids wouldn't have flowers and they wouldn't have rabbits. It would be something much more destructive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also when she figured out who her mother was, and she finally realized that was her mom, and not just and then she kept calling her the mad woman in her thoughts. Then she'd say, no, that's my mom. I thought that was really interesting because when she was having to calm her mom down at the end of the book, and she was like, I'm not, picking you over Zan, and I'm not picking Zan over you. My love is multiplied. It's not divided. I thought that was like such a beautiful line in the book.
Yes, I love that too. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Alrighty. Is that everybody's questions? Is there anything else?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Woohoo.